Welcome back. You're watching Startup Central with me, Nayanthara Rai, working from home in New Delhi. Today, Dominos has announced it's going to be launching a 100% plant-based pizza. It's a 100% plant-based, but it's got protein as well. You must be now by knowing that this is a very hot space at the moment. You have none other than Novak Djokovic. Yes, I'm a tennis fan, and he's talked a lot about it. For example, how he turned vegan and how he gets all of his protein now from plants. And if Djokovic can continue to winning the Grand Slams, I think that's going to be good enough for all of us, isn't it? But, jokes aside, it is a hot space. And I'm going to be discussing this and more now with our next guest, Sanjot from Matrix. He's a director there. He leads the consumer practice over there. Sanjot, it's always a pleasure talking to you. Thanks so much for joining us live on this edition of the Startup Central. Give me an idea. How big is this space now? Yes, vegetarian food has always done well in India, but this is different. This is 100% plant-based. It's supposed to be healthier for you. It's supposed to be better for you, which means it also tastes very different.
Thank you for having me, Nayanthara. Yeah, no, you're right. I think it's a big trend globally, actually, not just in India, and therefore it is a big market opportunity as well. I think the right way to look at it is plant-based nutrition in general is not one contiguous market. It's more of a value proposition that has the potential to disrupt many existing markets. So let me explain what I mean. You spoke about Domino's launching this plant-based chicken pizza, I think it is. So it's actually disrupting the existing meat eaters market, right? Which in India is more than a $50 billion market, $60 billion market. So arguably, if you can start transitioning people from sort of quintessential meat-based foods to plant-based protein, you have the opportunity to disrupt that $50 billion market over time. Similarly, there are other verticals that can be disrupted with plant-based nutrition. So, we're investors in a nutraceutical, plant-based nutraceutical company called Oziva. That in itself is a $5 billion sort of market overall. Then, of course, there's dairy, which is the largest consumer segment in India, which is over $100 billion. And you've seen in the US, there's lots of sort of nut butters and nut-based milks and so on that are disrupting the classic dairy space. And I think it's only a matter of time before that happens in India. And then, of course, you have snacking and others which are in the tens of billions of dollars. So each of these individual spaces can be disrupted by this sort of whole plant-based nutrition trend.
But it's going to be very niche, right, Sanjot? Like, for example, you've invested in Oziva, you've also invested in &Me. They all have nutrition fixes which are plant-based, but it's very niche, and therefore I would imagine the price points are also higher. And just the way the information spread also, that still hasn't taken place.
Yeah, no, I think both very good questions, Nayanthara, and it's stuff that obviously we think about as investors before making an investment. On the first point, I think the right way to look at it is what sort of category of pricing you fall under. So there's obviously the mass market pricing where, if you take dairy, you have the Amuls and the mother dairies of the world, and nutraceuticals, you have, XYZ, and in juices, you'll have Real and so on. So we have generally invested in brands that are what we call mass premium. We've found out over time, over years of investing, that the 30% pricing premium mark, so 30% pricing premium to a mass market brand, is really where the market starts to taper off quite a bit. That's when you get into the sort of more luxury segment, and that's, to use your language, more of a niche market. So we try and make sure we're in that, at maximum of a 30 to 35% sort of pricing premium. What that allows you is that it gives you healthy gross margins and the ability to disrupt existing brands. But at the same time, it allows you to create somewhat of a premium brand by creating a product differentiation, enhanced packaging, sustainable packaging, and so on. So, the goal is not to create niche products or niche brands. As you know, we're a relatively large-sized fund, one of the largest in India. So, we're looking to make returns that are outsized, and that only happens if the brand has the ability to, break past that niche point and really become a large brand, even though the starting point might be niche. And I think the second question you asked about was awareness, and I think that's actually a very, very good question. So the plant-based movement, there's two parts to it. There is a why plant-based, which I can speak about later, and I think that's much more sort of science and ethics based. And then there's a why now to it. Why are we seeing this whole trend come up now? The why now in India is very interesting. So I think philosophically, it's just the whole world, subsequent generations are moving towards sort of looking at Maslow's hierarchy more and more towards self-actualization. So we're looking at trends that are healthier, more sustainable, ethically and morally more correct, and I think plant-based is a trend towards that. But three very sort of important points when you look at the why now for India. One is demographic, the second is economic, and the third is a little bit more social. Demographic, because India is one of the youngest countries in the world, right? So 2/3 of our population is either Gen Z or millennial, so under the age of 35. And these folks, as you know, are very, very our consumption patterns are very different from the generations before them. They like to be healthier, they care about the environment, they care about sustainability and healthier living and so on. So that's number one, a changing consumer shift in how people consume in this country because of being younger. The second is economic. So India has traditionally been a low income country. We've just hit $2,000 of GDP per capita, and we're starting our middle income sort of journey. This is really where the disposable income part of your annual income starts to explode. So from 2,000 to 8,000 is really when you see a lot of spending growth, and India is traditionally a consumption-based economy. And number three is really the social part, which is driven by the internet. So we're a very connected society now, just in a very short span of time. And actually, if you look at just the millennials, if you look at urban millennials, 80% are connected now, as opposed to the rest of the country, which is at about 40%. So when you bring all of these three things together, you realize that you have a young population that's very connected, very aware of global trends, care about their health, care about their environment. And so they are willing to now actually pay a slight premium for plant-based nutrition, especially if they can show that there are real health and environmental benefits.
That's a lot to think about. And Sanjot, I'd like to thank you for being so candid and joining us here. Sanjot, of course, leads the consumer practice at Matrix. They've already got brands in their portfolio that are focusing on nutrition that is better for you. He did give examples, of course, of Anmi as well as Oziva that do that. Sanjot, here's wishing you and the entire team at Matrix a very happy New Year, Merry Christmas, and look forward to more interviews in the new year.
My pleasure, and happy holidays to you and the viewers as well. Thank you, Nanda.
So you just heard Sanjot from Matrix Partners talking about how you can see plant-based food be a disruptor. You've already started seeing nut-based milk, for example, disrupt dairy. It's a multi-billion-dollar opportunity. In 2020, I'm sure a lot of you would have seen on your Instagram, on your social media, as well as on e-commerce sites, the mushrooming of new brands. The pandemic has taught all of us to be healthier and to be more conscious of our diet. And our next guest is a co-founder of a startup called Slurp Farms. Now, Slurp came up because two mothers got together and they wanted to ensure that their kids eat better, that they eat more natural food. It doesn't have chemicals in it, all of that. And joining me now to talk more about plant-based food, healthier food, how big an opportunity is Sharvi Malik from Slurp Farms. Hi, Sharvi. Thanks a lot for joining us here. This is Nantara. Welcome to Startup Central. So I believe you and your co-founder Meghna started the brand Slurp because you wanted your children to just eat chemical-free food. Great idea, but is it a great business?
Yes, it is. And I think that, we were not the only parents who felt this. There are an increasing number of parents who feel that what they are feeding their children and reading the back of the label and being very avid label readers and realizing that, Nantara, since we were children, food for our age, like young children, has not innovated, right? So that lack of innovation in this category is very, very apparent. And actually, it's not even like innovation in terms of creating radically sort of science-driven products. It's going back to eating like our grandmothers have always eaten, and we can use science in terms of packaging or in terms of understanding how to get what you would make at home inside a packet on a retail shelf. And as more and more parents are living in, not joint family homes, two parents, both working, that need is ever present, right? Because you're not able to be the parent at home who's supervising every part of their child's diet. And that's definitely a market that needs products to cater to growing pains. Can you hear me?
Shorvi, give me an idea then. How big is the market? You're talking about one of the most populated countries on this planet. So I can understand that the opportunity is huge, but you're going to need those that are going to be willing to spend as well. I would imagine that this is also a category, therefore, that is more expensive. Have you done any study whatsoever on the possible size of the market?
So firstly, as a market pricing strategy, we do not, and I think that your previous guest also talked about this, right? For us, almost the upper limit is we are not more than 25% in terms of price to the most comparable product. And that's almost a gold standard, because if you go beyond that, then you really land in the space of someone who cannot scale the opportunity or the size of an opportunity. Now, in terms of assessing the size of the market, right, there are different categories. We basically cater to food for children of all ages. And actually, we've also recently launched millet-based products for adults as well. So we do cake mixes and things that the entire family can eat. Our consumer really is a family that has chosen to eat healthier. Market sizing for each of these products is different. There are, enough zeros, and market sizing is an art, not a science. There are, I would say, enough billions in dollars to convince us that this is an opportunity that is real. It's not niche. And actually what gives comfort to that sort of conviction, right, is that this change has happened in pretty much any developed country that you see over time. So in the categories that we play in, there is often 1, 2, 3 players. And over time, most developed countries see that there's not just one player or two. There ends up being 7, 8 players. And the pie also grows. And that is starting to happen in India. The entire consumption of packaged food brands is increasing. And as that pie grows, it's not that you're grabbing market share, you're growing that market together. And I think there's definitely a large enough sort of scalable business for brands like ours.
And with that, Shorvi, I'd like to thank you for joining us here. That's Shorvi Malik, hoping to disrupt the children foods category with natural foods, whether it's ragi, millets, all of that she was talking about, going back to just eating cleaner and healthier. And I'm sure one of the challenges, therefore, is also that we're competing with all of our grandmother's recipes, isn't it? But it's also convenience that we need to look at. Shorvi Malik, wishing you and everyone at Slurp Farms all the very best and a very happy new year. With that, ladies and gentlemen, we're going to take a short commercial break, but stay tuned. It's the end of the year, it's Christmas time. We all love to holiday and vacation if our bosses let us. But where are you going to go during the pandemic? Was the pricing like? Is it as expensive as last year? What about the night curfews? What is that going to mean for your holiday plans? That and more I'm going to be discussing with the founder of Oyo, India's youngest self-made billionaire, Ritesh Agarwal, on traveling during the pandemic and what travel could mean in 2021. Stay tuned.